I'm like, okay, speakers are here, speakers are here, the music's angling here. I'm gonna find like a little silent pocket and put my earplugs on. Okay, now I can handle being in this environment. Hi, I'm Nicole Justine Reed, and I'm back with the HSP series, Highly Sensitive People, and how to thrive with all these different sensitivities, how to know which ones you might have, you know, how it bothers you, how it affects your life, what you can do about it in a very practical way. And I'm going to be using real life examples from my own life that I have discovered, and maybe occasionally some things that other people have shared, but it's mostly going to be my own examples. So today we're going to talk about auditory sensitivity. Okay, so you're probably watching this if sounds like freak you out or if you get super distracted by certain noises. So like for me, fans are the worst, like the worst. Like I can hear a fan a freaking mile away, and I know for a fact that this is part of my auditory sensitivity because I brought up this fact with other people who aren't highly sensitive, and they're like, "What fan? You can hear that? What are you talking about?" And I'm like, you can't hear that? I can't even have a conversation with you because it's so distracting. So it's that sort of whirring noise. So like when the fan light in the bathroom, you know, is it like the light and the fan are like attached, and it's like I can't even brush my teeth. So it's important to be aware of this if this is bothering you, and I will choose darkness anytime over that noise. Oh my gosh, like for real. No. But ideally, and so sometimes in like hotel rooms and things like this, there's nothing you can do about that, right? Because that's how it's built. But if you're searching for a home to buy or to rent and you have an auditory sensitivity, seriously check out the bathroom fan light combo situation. Like that's one of the first things that I do now, because I'm like, I love taking baths and I love being in the bathroom. It's a super nourishing sanctuary for me. And if there's this freaking fan in there that I'm like demanded to have on, bye-bye sanctuary. So, okay, so one thing is fans. Another thing obviously is volume. Volume of music, volume of sounds, any kind of, well, I think this probably bothers most people, but I actually don't know. All I know is I startle really easily. So if there's like a loud noise or a crash, I'm like, my nervous system is like, oh, what's going on? And actually my husband doesn't really, because he's not an HSP. So this is where I really have seen the difference between us, because it's like, you know, we're hanging out watching a movie and there's some super loud sound and I am like bolted out of my seat, like freaking out and like heart racing, and he's just sitting there like watching the TV like nothing happened. And I'm like, how did that not bother you? So jarring sounds, you know, really startle me as well. And so, you know, I'll stay away usually from movies that are gonna have that or things like that. And I know that loud sounds will bother me, and so I will just like really focus on breathing to restore my nervous system in that moment. So grounding techniques are really, really great if you get jarred in any way with your nervous system, because basically what HSP is just like overstimulation of your nervous system, right? It's just like on high alert. So also, for me, it is extremely difficult to have music playing that has words in it while I'm talking to someone, because I'm like, I can't have the two conversations at once, even if it's really quiet. And so I know that like for when I'm cooking, I love, you know, to sing along, and that's, you know, that's great because that's just me cooking, right? But then when my husband and I sit down for dinner, instrumental only, dude, like for real, like because otherwise I'm asking him to repeat himself over and over because I'm getting so distracted. So it's just like, I think there's just this high sensitivity, like tuning into sounds. So it doesn't work or I need a silence, right? That's important too. The other thing is, speaking of music, I'm super sensitive to different kinds of music. So not only emotionally do I get wrapped up in it, and we can talk about that. I think I'll do like an emotional sensitivity video, but for auditory, it's like any discordant music is grating on my nervous system, like grating, like it's unpleasant. It's not like, oh, I don't like this music. It's like, get me out of here, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. So it's really important for me to have harmonious music and really paying attention to maybe certain chords that really resonate and just relax my nervous system versus ones that irritate it. And I'll get really irritated, and it's just like, I just like make it stop, shut it off, like make it go away, versus yes, like, oh, this is nice. So I highly recommend paying attention to what kinds of music like jack up your nervous system in a bad way versus really calm it or soothe it or empower it. And you can make a playlist specifically for this, or several playlists. So for example, I have a happy playlist, I have a calm, relaxing playlist. Any discordant music does not exist in my playlist. And then sometimes there will be an artist, you know, who will just make a discordant kind of more, you know, song, delete, keep the rest of the album going, right? So you don't need to do what works for you. And luckily we live in a world where we get to pick and choose our music now. So this is super good for highly sensitive people, because you can just eliminate anything that like sucks for your nervous system. I've also made a little list here. I want to make sure I went through everything. So what else do we need to go over? Yes. Okay. So also, earplugs are your best friend in the world. I cannot stress this enough. So no joke, carry with me in my purse earplugs. They're pink. Actually, I should have them here. Why don't I have them here? Give me a second. I'm gonna go get them. Okay, I'm back with my earplugs. Okay, so mine are hot pink, which yours don't need to be, but they're just these ones that you can get in the drugstore, and super easy, like a dime a dozen, whatever. And I just pop them in here like this, ta-da, like this. The kind of swishy kind where it's like it squishes and then kind of fills up your ear. And there's different kinds. And so it's like I have my own little sanctuary in here. You know, it's just like one of those little like silent spa rooms. And so I will, you know, use these because they're super small to carry around. I can carry them in my pocket, my purse, you know, just like super easy, transportable. And I will wear them at restaurants. That's a huge thing, because if it's a loud restaurant where people are just like clanging dishes, people are dropping things, there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot like fans, also, as we know, not my favorite, right? It can be a lot going on. So I used to not go, you know, out to really loud places. But then like, so you have to kind of balance that, right? So if it's like it's too much for your nervous system, take care of yourself, don't go to these places, right? Pick quieter places. But you also want to engage in life, right? You like, what if your friends are throwing a party, you know, at one of these places, and you don't want to like not go to the party because you can't stand the sound, right? Earplugs. So you can get a lot of different kinds of earplugs. You can get fancier ones. You can also get noise canceling headphones. So some people swear by those. I don't use them personally. I just like the transportability of these. And what happens is when I put them in my ears, like in a restaurant, I can still hear people. So I can still have a conversation, and I got really good at reading lips as well in these kinds of situations. You can like totally understand people, but it takes the edge off. It takes that like, the part that like just destroys your nervous system, it takes that off. And so you can still be out in public and it's not a big deal. Now, if you have long hair, you know, you can, or, you know, you can also just like kind of cover them like this, and like no one's gonna even notice. No one's gonna notice. I'm at the point now where I'm so comfortable with it that I don't even care if people notice it, obviously, because they're bright pink. And in some ways I want people to notice it, because I want them to know, like, if I can't hear them for some reason, this is why, and I'm not being rude, and like, you know, just to educate them. And that's a huge part of all of this too, is once you know the things that work for you, it's really about telling people, hey, like, you know, I really have an auditory sensitivity. These sounds are just too loud for me, so I take care of myself by putting these in. I can still hear you, but just so you know, it's a little muffled, and I'm gonna need to read your lips a little bit, right? Right? If you need to like have a conversation with people, absolutely do it. This is about you being comfortable in your own world, in your own experience, and in your environment. So speaking of environment, you want to also pay attention to where you're living. You might be a city person, and in this case, it's all about the soundproofing of walls and things like that if you can, because in the city, so when I lived in the city, there's like buses right outside my door, and there's like, you know, just that city noise, that constant traffic. It's constant. It's right? Kind of like the fans. And any kind of just constant bombardment of your system is like really exhausting. And it wasn't until I left, I was only in the city for maybe like a year and a half, but, which was, anyway, still a long time for my nervous system. But when I went back to the suburbs after that, like, I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so quiet. I hadn't realized like the difference until I moved back. Parking was a lot easier too, so whew, blessing on that. So, and also for the last year and a half, I've been living totally in nature. I mean, birds chirping, the whole deal. And my nervous system loved it. Trees, quiet, you know, like the occasional car, because hey, people have transportation, right? But not the constant car, right? So it was really just about immersing myself. It was like the best thing I ever did for my nervous system. I'm back in the suburbs now. There's a few more cars and lawnmowers. Maybe you can hear them now. Also not one of my favorite sounds, but what can you do? People need to mow their lawns. So what was I saying? Yes, environments. So pay attention to where you're living. So this is about self-knowledge, right? Your home is where you spend a lot of time. Your work is where you spend a lot of time. You want these two places, or wherever it is that you spend a lot of time, you want these places to be sanctuaries for your nervous system. And if one of them is not, you want to make sure something is, so that you can have a break, right? So that you're not going to be like just constantly on all the time. Because what happens? You get irritated, right? You start snapping at loved ones, and you know, just unhappiness with your own life. What else? Yes, also, this is about preempting things, I guess. Kind of noticing what environments you're gonna just need to be proactive about stuff. So for example, movie theaters, they are usually pretty loud, and especially for some bizarre reason for the previews, and then the movie is like kind of a normal thing. Don't know what that's about. Like they need to scream at you. So I will maybe wear my earplugs for the previews part, and then when the volume normalizes, okay, great. Sometimes I've had to wear my earplugs for a movie, but usually not in my case. Concerts are, I don't go to concerts basically because that is like, whoa, on the energy level and also on the sound level. But when I would go to concerts, you know, I would be just like way in the back, kind of near the exits, you know, places where it was just like a little bit like less intense. Anytime there are speakers, right? You know, if you're seated maybe in a restaurant or a club or something like that, and they have those speakers, and everyone just wants to be in this mosh pit, like near the stage dancing, and getting deaf, by the way. I don't know why that's cool. I'm like, okay, speakers are here, the music's angling here. I'm gonna find like a little silent pocket and put my earplugs on. Okay, now I can handle being in this environment, right? So it's all about wanting to enjoy life, of course, but also being able to take care of yourself in all of these moments. So start recognizing the environments and situations in which your auditory sensitivity is triggered, and then empower yourself to take some action on that to minimize it for yourself. You can't control other people, you can't control their situations, right? But you can be proactive about how, like, the equipment or things that you do or the choices that you make to take care of yourself, and you can be proactive about telling people about what you need. Now my family and friends know that I have this auditory sensitivity, and so I tell them. So another example is if I'm trying to catch up with a friend and she's driving somewhere, I can't hear her. Like, that's like, I can hear all the background traffic, and it's awful. And I'm just like, you know what, this is more stressful than it's worth usually, right? So so I just say, hey, you know, like, it's really kind of jarring for me, or it's hard for me to hear you when you're in the car. So can we talk another time when you can just be in a quiet environment, so it won't be so irritating for my nervous system. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please, you know, write in the comments below other versions of auditory sensitivity. If I've missed some things, I'm happy to address them in another video because I really want you to have some support. But these have been some real life examples in my life, and hopefully they have helped you. Next up, visual and light sensitivity. If this is you, you're gonna wanna see this. See you then, bye.